Morant with a running start. Elevate! Oh, it dunks! Oh, my goodness!
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now a three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant! Oh, he hit it! John Morant, insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies lost on Friday and on Saturday to the Portland Trailblazers and have now lost 5 consecutive games. They have not won since the All-Star break. On this episode, I will talk about these defeats. Let's get right to it. So on Friday night, there's no Jaren Jackson Jr., there's no Luke Kennard. 9 guys are out, and the Grizzlies got absolutely humiliated. They got destroyed. In their defense, this was one of the worst rosters maybe anyone's ever played with in the NBA this season. I'm not sure how I would look that up. Maybe try to find lowest combined win shares for available players. I mean, the Grizzlies on Friday had one of the best 5 players available in that game. The Trailblazers, despite having lost 9 straight games before the Friday night game, despite going winless in February, the Trailblazers had Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons, 2 guys who are way better than anyone the Grizzlies had. I mean, I think the Grizzlies' best available player on Friday was Vince Williams Jr., a player who none of us really considered to be part of the rotation when the year started. I mean, I think Vince is easily the best player the Grizzlies had available. I mean, your next best options, you'd argue, Santi Aldama. It's not Zaire Williams. Maybe some of you think Gigi Jackson is that good right now. He's not. But the Trailblazers had something like 4 or 5 of the best 6 players available in this game. I mean, Matisse Thybulle, I think, is better than Santi Aldama, and thus everyone else the Grizzlies had available. Despite the extremely short-handed roster the Grizzlies were working with, they actually were 1-point favorites. That was a bad line by Vegas. So the Grizzlies are absolutely destroyed in this game. They can't muster much of anything. And again, they were starting Vince, Santi, Zaire, and then Jordan Goodwin and Trey Jemison. By the way, those 5 starters combined to score 38 points in this game. Frankly, that's hard to do in an NBA game, to have your starters fail to score 40 points total. The bench for the Grizzlies in this game, they went 10 deep, of course. Why wouldn't you? They had Matt Hurt, Yuta Watanabe, Gigi Jackson, Jake LaRavia, and Lamar Stevens off the bench. Honestly, the bench had a pretty good game. Big night from a lot of the bench players. Gigi was very efficient in that one, bounced back from a rough game against the Timberwolves and the Nets. Lamar Stevens had a season-high 19. Jake LaRavia had a career-high 21 points. None of that mattered. The Grizzlies, of course, just got absolutely torched. So then on Saturday night, you're thinking, wow, that was pretty ugly. Despite, being that shorthanded and having this roster full of guys who are barely NBA players, like after the game on Friday night, Taylor Jenkins seemed really mad. He was disappointed with the performance. He said it was, unacceptable. He was very terse with all his responses. I felt weird and conflicted, seeing his responses, because as an outsider and as someone who just covers the NBA at large, you look at the players available, and I think we naturally, again, we doubt the injury reports. We doubt the truthfulness of them. Jaren probably clearly hurt, but you think this, you're like, well, this is the tanking lineup. And there's a lot to be talked about now with the tanking situation for the Grizzlies. I'll do that in just a second. But the Grizzlies were so shorthanded on Friday night, and it looked like an organizational, hey, maybe let's kind of punt some of these games. Well, on Saturday night, you got some reinforcements. The cavalry arrived, sort of, but like Luke Kennard was available. John Conchar was available. So I think there was some thought, all right, after playing so poorly on Friday, the typical rhythm and pattern of NBA teams is you would bounce back. You don't normally get humiliated by the same team twice, especially a bad team like the Trailblazers. Let us not forget, the Trailblazers, very bad. They still have the best players in the game with Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant, but you're like, all right, maybe our depth will be able to help us a little bit. It sort of did for a while. Of course, the Grizzlies built a significant lead. They were ahead by 18 points in the second quarter. They forced a ton of turnovers. It was 11 turnovers forced by the Grizzlies in the second quarter. Grizzlies PR lets us know that is one off the franchise record for most forced turnovers in a single quarter. So you built this lead. You did play better, but then, of course, it all fell apart in the fourth quarter. Anthony Simons really got going, and the Grizzlies could not score. The Grizzlies finished this game. They were outscored. How do we want to break this down? They were outscored 19-5 to end the game. That's starting with a little bit over 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Of course, the Blazers scored the final, I think, 7 points to send it to overtime, and then one overtime 12-5. If you want to dial it back a little bit, the Grizzlies were outscored 44-19 if you start with 9.5 minutes left in the game. So the Grizzlies stopped scoring. They only made 5 out of 24 field goal attempts in the fourth quarter and in overtime. And they finished with 100 points, and you have this massive fall on your face, embarrassing loss. And it always goes back to the offense. It always goes back to the talent level. But like the offense, failed to hit 105 points again. It's an arbitrary number that I have chosen because the stats are very stark when you use that number. The Grizzlies now, because of failing to score at least 105 points in both games against the Blazers this weekend, the Grizzlies now have 25 games this year where they don't score at least 105 points. They have lost every single one of those games. They have the most such games of any NBA team. The team with the second most games failing to hit 105 points, it's the Trailblazers, who have 23. So the Grizzlies offense totally abandons them. And now you find yourself kickstarting a Trailblazers winning streak. They were 0-9 in February. Now they're 2-0 in March. The Trailblazers before Friday hadn't won a game all season when Malcolm Brogdon didn't play. The Trailblazers were shorthanded. No Malcolm Brogdon, no Shaedon Sharpe, no DeAndre Ayton. Of course, Robert Williams has been out for the year. The Trailblazers were shorthanded too. And the Grizzlies lost both of them. And now the Grizzlies have really entered a tank race that I did not think they were going to get involved in. And I don't know how the organization treats this. I don't know if the organization is in fact tanking. Of course, the players are trying to win. No one told Vince Williams Jr. to go scoreless with no assists and 2 turnovers in the fourth quarter on Saturday night. No one told Luke Kennard to not shoot the ball at all. I don't think. If you're a conspiracy theorist, I think there's a strong argument to be made that Luke Kennard is a tank commander, running around out there refusing to shoot. Luke, more on him in a second, but was 10th on the team in field goal attempts. Bizarre stuff. But because of losing 2 games to the Trailblazers, all of a sudden, the idea of, quote unquote, catching the Trailblazers for the 5th best lottery odds is not inconceivable. And I've been publicly against the idea of tanking. And my argument, a lot of it was, you're not going to catch the Trailblazers. They're too far ahead. Well, if you lose 2 games in a row to the team that is ahead of you, all of a sudden the Grizzlies now are just 2 games back of the Trailblazers in the reverse standings. The Grizzlies have 3 more wins, though. So The Trailblazers are still ahead, but I don't know. And my kind of question, my big picture question about the losses to the Trailblazers is this an organizational move towards we are going to tank out very hard? I mean, maybe Jaren is super hurt and he just happened to miss these two Trailblazers games. And he's doubtful for the game on Monday against the Nets. After that, actually, the Grizzlies' schedule, it gets pretty hard. So, like, you don't maybe necessarily have to roll out your Matthew Hurt, Trey Jemison, Lamar Stevens lineups. Like, the losing might take care of itself. So, I would say the Grizzlies are now maybe entering a more extreme tank race than I thought they would, and also a more extreme tank race than I thought was necessary. One of my arguments has been that, like, our spot is pretty secure. We can win basketball games. We're not going to catch the Raptors or the Nets or even the Hawks. I think we're secure in that sixth spot. Well, now, again, 2 games behind the Trailblazers, and you have this option of moving into the 5th worst spot. Of course, the Hornets still 5 games ahead in the reverse standings. I still don't think you can catch them. But these 2 losses, for better or worse, I would say for worse, now open up the dialogue where, as fans, we're supposed to be looking at how many games can we lose. And I hate being here. The percentage changes if you do catch the Trailblazers for having a worse record than them. You go from a 9% chance at getting the first pick, which is where the Grizzlies are now with the 6th worst record. You go from a 9% chance at the top pick to a 10.5% chance at the top pick. That is very, very small. You go from a 37.2% chance at a top 4 pick to a 41.2% chance, or a 42.1%. Sorry, I mixed those numbers up. A 42.1% chance at a top 4 pick. That is very, very small. Is that worth it to do what you do to your fans on Friday or Saturday night? Is it worth it to have Gigi Jackson talking about the game on Friday, about how fans were leaving with 8 minutes to go in the 4th quarter? You can't blame the fans. That product was terrible. And again, this is all kind of conjecturing that there is an organizational decision to not put your best product on the court. We don't know if that's the case. I cynically look at the league and what teams have done year after year. And when you see the players available, you think, all right, this is not your best foot forward. You're not actually trying to win these games. So now I think you think about maximizing your draft potential. And even if it is just a minor, bump up from 9% to 10.5% of the top pick, the biggest bump up is your odds of finishing with like the 6th or 7th pick, which were pretty high in your current spot. You now have a much higher percentage, like going from like a 30% chance to a 40% chance of moving up to the 6th pick. That's the big change, where you're more likely to have the 6th pick as opposed to the 7th pick or the 8th pick. Is it worth it to have performances like we saw over the weekend? That, I think, is where the debate rages on. A few notes about these games. I don't want to get much into them. I mean, what are you supposed to say? The Grizzlies tied their season high. Here's something to say. The Grizzlies tied their season high with 22 turnovers on Saturday. On Friday night, they had 21 turnovers. If Jordan Goodwin is your starting point guard, that might happen. And honestly, I feel bad for Jordan Goodwin. Like, Jordan Goodwin can do most everything an NBA player needs to do except shoot. I mean, Goodwin had 4 blocks and 2 steals on Friday. He posted a couple more blocks on Saturday, got more steals on Saturday. He led the team in assists both games. He just can't shoot. This was the first time the Grizzlies had consecutive games with 20 or more turnovers since the start of the 2019 season. That's the 3rd and 4th games that Taylor Jenkins coached since the last time they had consecutive games with 20 or more turnovers. The team hasn't had 3 straight games with 20 or more turnovers since they were in Vancouver in 1998. So that's something to watch for the game on Monday night. By the way, Taylor Jenkins, poor guy, stuck on 199 career victories. He has the second most career victories in Grizzlies franchise history. And he's trying to become the second coach in franchise history to hit 200. He's still been stuck there for, 19 days. That's the last time the Grizzlies won before the All-Star break in the game against the Bucks. Now, I guess we should compliment Santi and Vince for having pretty good games on Saturday night before, of course, it all fell apart. Like, Vince finished with an unbelievably strong stat line. Of course, I can't enjoy it because of the loss and the way the loss happened. But Vince had 21 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, and made 4 3-pointers. He joined Ja Morant, Marc Gasol, and Jay Crowder as the only players in franchise history to hit all of those marks in one game. Santi scored 20 points in a game for the first time since November, made 5 out of 9 3-pointers. Unfortunately, he kept missing makeable shots in the paint, like he's been doing a lot recently and like he's been doing a lot of all season. Looking at my notes, I thought this was interesting about the game on Saturday. Like, Matt Hurt played the same number of minutes as John Conchar. Like, we expected, all right, Conchar and Kennard, here are our reinforcements. They didn't do very much. Conchar played 18 minutes. So did Matthew Hurt. They played more minutes than Jake LaRavia. Jake LaRavia, coming off that career-high 21 points, where he blew his previous career high of 13 points out of the water, coming off that career-high game, he played 14 minutes on Saturday. Played fewer minutes than Matthew Hurt. Is that because Matthew Hurt was playing well? I mean, good job from Hurt having 7 points on 5 shots. Got 2 steals, a block, an assist, a rebound. But, like, was that an organizational thing? To be like, let's play Matthew Hurt more than John Conchar. And then Luke Kennard. All right. Luke Kennard took 2 shots. He made a fourth quarter 3. That's what put the Grizzlies up by, 17 or 18 in the fourth quarter? Yeah, they were up 81-63 when Kennard makes this 3 with 9.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But, like, why is Luke Kennard only shooting 2 shots? The game before this that he played in, he only took 3 shots. He was 9th on the team in field goal attempts against the Nets in that massive blowout a few games ago. Then he was 10th on the team in shot attempts in this game. Luke hasn't posted a positive plus-minus since January 22nd. That's 10 games played for Luke. That's 18 games played for the Grizzlies. I know he's a low-usage guy. I know, of course, he's a good weapon when he's out there with Ja and Desmond and Jaren, and people can actually set him up for threes. Obviously, when he's out there with Jordan Goodwin and Lamar Stevens and Matthew Hurt, he's much less effective, but much less effective should not equal useless. I mean, maybe that's too harsh, but it blows my mind. It continues blowing my mind how little impact he makes in these games where the talent level is unbelievably low. It reminds you why the Clippers would sometimes not play him, despite him being one of the best three-point shooters and free throw shooters in the NBA. I mean, I can leave the debate, I guess, about should he be doing more and, like, what's his value for the team going forward, whatever. I've talked about that enough. Just unique stat, hasn't posted a positive plus-minus since January 22nd. Now, G.G. Jackson, let's talk about his game because he's one of the players we're the most excited to watch, I think, in this horrible run of a season we're going through. G.G. on Friday night didn't play that much, which, again, a little bit eyebrow raising, and was effective with 11 points on 8 field goal attempts, made 2 out of 3 threes. But on Saturday night was not very efficient. He missed 8 of his final 9 shots. He was sort of trying to be the alpha on the team, and letting the offense come to him, or taking over the offense when it bogged down. He was given some thankless, opportunities where he did maybe have to force some stuff, but he struggled with those misses. For the game, was only 4 out of 15, also had 4 turnovers, part of the massive turnover numbers for the team. He did get to the free throw line 10 times, made 8 of them. Those are both career high numbers. Also matched his career high with getting 2 steals in the game. I mean, the Grizzlies got 15 steals, which is a lot. Of course, that's because they forced all those turnovers. The Trailblazers finished the game with 22 turnovers. The Grizzlies, again, 15 steals, 15 made threes. Those are good numbers. Unfortunately, they were only 15 for 43 on 2-pointers in this game. They shot under 40% for the 3rd time in their last 4 games as a team. They made 36.1% of their field goal attempts. They got dominated on the glass again. The second chance scoring was a big reason why the Trailblazers pulled this one out. Like, they couldn't handle Jabari Walker. I mean, this is multiple games where we can't handle a guy like Jabari Walker, who's one of those energy bigs, who's a good rebounder. We don't have anyone on the roster. Even if Jaren's healthy, we don't have guys on the roster who can handle those guys. I mean, Delano Banton took this game over. It was extremely frustrating. I mean, Jeremy Grant, he basically got banged up and didn't even play in this game. So, like, you really feel like the Grizzlies probably should have pulled this one out, but now they didn't. And now everyone who's super pro tank gets to be excited. Losing is terrible. That's my opinion. The Grizzlies now 1-10 on Friday and Saturday nights at home this year. That's a meaningless stat. But they were undefeated on Friday and Saturday night home games last season. 1-10 this season. Of course, last year the Grizzlies had the best home record in the NBA. This year the Grizzlies have the 3rd worst home record. Only the Pistons and Wizards have a worse home record this season. Finally, just because you guys are the hardest of hardcore fans listening, let's bring you another Tariq Bovich watch. Bovich has been lighting it up in the Turkish League, playing for Fenerbahce. He is now 27 for 45 on 3-pointers in the EuroLeague. Go to Twitter and go to that Grizzlies film account. He clipped all of Tariq's 3-point attempts, so you can watch them all, as Tariq is making 60% of them right now. So again, maybe that's a preview of a player on the Grizzlies Summer League team this upcoming summer. Anyways, thanks everybody for listening. If you want to support this program, please do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. If you sign up over there, you get exclusive bonus content. You can also join the Slack channel. The Grits and Grinds Slack channel right now is doing 2 things mainly. One, counting down the days to the lottery, and debating the value of Luke Kennard. We get into it pretty good there. There's good arguments on both sides, and we still remain confused why he doesn't shoot the basketball more. Anyways, hope you guys all have a great Monday. I will talk to you soon. Go Grizz.